Hello everyone, my name is Basham Anand and I lead product management for Cavern. Today we are really excited to announce our expanded support for the Google Cloud Platform in addition to the integration with Cloud Security Command Center, which is Google's latest offering for unified security for GCP customers, which is in public beta as of today. In this presentation, you will learn about the main benefits and features that Cavirin offers for GCP customers and also get a preview of the integration that we've done with the Cloud Security Command Center. And last but not least, you'll also see how to do a preview of our integration using a demo that I'll discuss in the next few minutes of Cloud Security Command Center with Cavirin and Google Cloud Platform. On to the first topic, what does Cavern offer for GCP customers? So Cavern is essentially a cyber posture intelligence platform for GCP. And what that means is that we help customers understand the security posture of their GCP resources in a simple to understand cyber posture score. It's a number between a 0 and 100. 100 represents the least amount of risk. And we present it on a dashboard that looks something like this. And what you can do with this information is that at a glance, you know how you're doing from a security posture perspective in Google, and also slice and dice with respect to the different services or OS services and operating systems that you might be having in your environment in GCP, how you're doing from a security posture at that level, and then drill down by asset groups and so on. And most importantly, what you can actually do with this information is that you can actually prioritize your remediation plans for your Google resources itself using our cyber posture score. And every finding that we have, that we find in your Google environment is ranked based on the cyber posture score, and that then helps you guide remediation. And last but not least, you can also see a trend line down below, which helps you understand how you're doing from a overall trendline perspective within GCP itself. One important thing that is a prerequisite for what we do in GCP is to actually help you understand what you have deployed in GCP in the first place. Now for that, we actually profile 9 different services in GCP as listed in this list here. But things like your cloud account, including your IAM services that you might be using, the Key Vault compute instance, which is actually Google Compute Engine, virtual networks, subnets, security groups, which is actually Google Compute Firewalls, Cloud SQL, which is listed as database in here, the container orchestrator, which is GKE, and Stackdriver, which is used for monitoring your cloud resources. Again, in one single pane of glass, you have a view of what you have actually, what you're actually at the moment deployed in GCP, and we go off and discover this using an agentless approach. In terms of how our cyber posture scoring actually works, at a very high level, we have technical controls that we evaluate against your GCP infrastructure. Specifically, it's about 558 GCP-specific controls that we've authored, and it spans those 9 resources that we saw on the previous slide. And in addition to that, we have thousands of OS-level controls as well that we evaluate for the Google Compute Engine instances that you may have deployed. And then based on the assessment of those technical controls, using a proprietary algorithm, we actually come up with a cyber posture score, which, like I said, is a number between a 0 and 100. 100 represents the least amount of risk. On to Google's Cloud Security Command Center. What is it? So again, this is Google's breakthrough, which offers a unified dashboard for SecOps teams. So it actually is a single pane of glass that aggregates security findings from lots of different security ecosystem partners that Google has signed up, and Cavirin is one of them. So you'll see Cavirin's prioritized issues alongside with other vendors that you might be using. And in our case, in the case of Cavirin, the findings that we do have are prioritized by the cyber posture scores that I mentioned before. Again, it's a way of risk-driven remediation that you can actually take on within your Google Cloud Platform. And then for each finding that we do push into the Security Command Center, you'll actually see a lot of actionable details in terms of how to actually remediate the findings that we do find. In terms of what the deployment architecture looks like, the key thing to remember here is that we're dealing with three moving parts when it comes to the Cloud Security Command Center integration. The first part is actually your resources. So these are essentially folders, projects, and then the individual resources inside them. Now that's what Cavern is going off and assessing. So the second moving part is the Cavirin software itself that's deployed within a managed VM in the Google Cloud Platform. And the third leg in the stool, if you will, is the Cloud Security Command Center itself, which is Google's SaaS offering for DevOps teams. At the very high level, what we actually do is that periodically we scan your Google Cloud Platform assets in the different projects, and then we push them into Cavern, then pushes them into the Cloud Security Command Center through Google APIs. A key concept to keep in mind is that you actually need to set up at least 2 service accounts in GCP. The first service account is for this arrow marked number 4. This arrow represents the ability for Cavern to actually find your resources and do assessment of technical controls against them. The second service account that you need is actually a service account that's used to establish trust between Cavern and Cloud Security Command Center. That's arrow number 5 in here. So at least these 2 service accounts need to be set up and provisioned the right amount of IAM roles, if you will, and for us to go off and discover and assess your resources and push findings into Cloud Security Command Center. What are the steps involved in the integration itself? You will see a demo of this in the next few minutes, but at the very high level, you need to first provision the Cavern application itself as a managed VM from the GCP marketplace. Make sure you sign up for the Cloud Security Command Center application itself. The next thing that you need to do is that because Cloud Security Command Center is in beta at the moment, Cavern's integration is also in a tech review mode at the moment. As a result, please contact Cavern to make sure that you are whitelisted as a customer for Cavern's Cloud Security Command Center companion app, which is the app that establishes trust between Cavern and Security Command Center in order for us to push findings on your behalf into Cloud SCC, if you will. Steps 3 and 4 are really, really important. So Cloud Security Command Center works at the level of the organization. So you need to make sure that the user that's creating the integration has the appropriate IAM role as listed here. And then as mentioned before, you would need a org level service account with the right set of privileges for Cavern to push findings into Security Command Center itself. Step number 5 is to actually, and you'll see this in the demo, within Cloud Security Command Center, you have to create Cavern as a source. And then you go back to the Cavern UI and set up the integration within the Cavern UI. Again, you'll see this in the demo. And then last but not least, once we start doing assessments of your technical controls, we will start pushing findings into the Cloud Security Command Center, and then you can see those findings listed in your Cloud Security Command Center UI. On to our first step, which is to deploy Cavern. Inside your GCP project, go to Marketplace and look for Cavern in the Marketplace. You'll see 2 listings. The first one is the Cavern Cloud Security Command Center Companion, for which you need to be whitelisted. The second one is what you're really looking for, which is the Cavern Cyber Posture application. Click on the card and follow the instructions to actually launch it on the Google Cloud Platform. Key thing to remember for this one is this is a bring your own license solution, which means your Cavern sales rep needs to provide you with a license for Cavern before you can start using it for your projects. Our next step is to try and evaluate Google's Cloud Security Command Center. As we mentioned before, you need to make sure that you actually purchase Cloud Security Command Center. As it is in beta at the moment, you need to contact your Google account rep and ensure that you are whitelisted for the Google Security Command Center access. Once you have that, you can go into your organization and find under security, you will see the security command center. The most important thing at this point is you need to create an IAM role which has the appropriate level of access for you to do the remaining steps in our demo. So in my case, this is the account or member that I'm using, and I've ensured that they have the project owner role, the organization administrator role for this organization that I'm in, and most importantly, I also have the security center admin role. The next step is, again, in the IAM area, you want to look for service accounts, and here's where you want to create a service account that will establish trust between your Cavern deployment and security command center. Now, even though I'm selecting a project here, remember that security command center works at the level of an organization, so findings that are aggregated across your entire organization before it's being pushed into security command center, regardless of the project selection that I did. Now, in my case, I already set up the appropriate service account. It's called Cavirin CSCC Findings SA. Now, if I look inside this service account, you'll see a lot of the details. One of the things you will need is a API key, which you will download and install within the Cavern application itself. The next step in our process is to add a security source. In this case, we're going to add Cavern's Command Center companion app as a source of findings for the command center. To do that, add security sources like so. Look for Cavern in the App Store, and you will see the command center companion app right here. Click on it, and then at that point, when you click on the card, it launches the self-service provisioning workflow. Click on it, and you will notice that you need to select the organization that you're already logged into. And here's where you'll use the service account that you previously created. So make sure to have that available in a notepad so you can cut and paste in there. And then the other thing that the system automatically generates this particular string for you. This is really important. Make sure you copy it to the clipboard. The two main pieces of information that you would need in the next step where you set up the integration with Cavirin is the organization ID. It's one input that you would need. And the second piece of input you would need is the source ID itself. In this case, the source ID refers to the Cavirin Cloud Security Center Companion app, which is a source, right? So if you've done this correctly, what you'll find, you should be able to go back to the settings tab in the Cloud SCC, and what you'll see there is you will see the Cavirin Cloud SCC Companion app listed as a source for findings. At this point, you want to go back into your Cavirin application. Before you go to the Cavern application, the first thing you need to do is to make sure that you download the credentials for the service account that's used for establishing trust between Cavern and Cloud Security Command Center. The one that I've been using in this demo is this particular service account. So to download the credentials, just click here and hit Create Key, and then you want to download the JSON and save it to a safe place. Once you have this JSON handy, go back to the Cavern portal and log in as administrator. Now, administrator is the only role in the system that is actually allowed to set up integrations between external systems. Now, to set up an integration, go to the administer area, add an integration. In this case, I've already added the integration, and in the case of Cloud Security Command Center, only one integration can be set up at a given time between a Cavern deployment and Cloud Security Command Center. Therefore, I'm able to edit it, but not create a new one for the Cloud SCC integration type. Now, if I look inside this, here's where the most important things you need to be aware of. The organization ID is part of the string that was rendered or shown to you on the screen when you self-provision the Cavirin Cloud SCC companion app. Similarly, the source ID was also shown to you as part of the same string. And then last but not least, the credential that you just downloaded as part of the service account is something that you would want to enter here. Once this is done, you're ready to actually start doing assessments. Now, the key thing to remember here is that only group admin roles can actually do assessments in the system. And to do an assessment, just follow the easy steps with respect to discovering and access resources. The wizard comes up, pick GCP. What you'll see here is that you need an account. Now, this is the account that's used for assessing resources within GCP. This is different from the service account that's used for establishing trust between Cavern and GCC itself. And in this particular case, you can actually the account could potentially have access to one or more projects. Pick the project that you like, and then follow through the next steps in the wizard. Now, one quick thing: in this demo, I'm not using SSH credentials for remoting into compute instances in GCP. But if you do desire that, you would want to add SSH credentials as a third set of credentials into the system and start doing assessments. Now, for the sake of brevity here, let me go back to assessments that I've done previously. And you can see that there is a project called Cloud SCC Demo Project, which I have looked at previously. And if you look at the settings for that particular asset group, it's actually using this particular account called Cloud SCC Demo, and it's finding and assessing resources inside this particular project in GCP. And if I want, I can actually go off and run an assessment one more time. So let me go ahead and do that. In this case, for this particular assessment, I've actually picked the GCP Network Policy Pack and the GCP CIS Policy Pack down here. And I can hit next and done. And at this point, you'll see that the system starts doing a discovery or rediscovery of resources in here in the particular GCP project, and then we'll start the assessment once discovery is complete. As I've run this before, what you'll see here is that at the last time that I ran this assessment, the Cavern system found 25 resources, of which 24 were not compute resources, and one resource was a compute resource. But because I did not provide SSH credentials, it's in an inaccessible state. Regardless, once assessment's complete, you would be able to go back to the dashboard and then slice and dice findings through all the facets that are available to you on the right-hand side. And then more importantly, for any slice that you dive into, you'll be able to see something called prioritized issues. This is the list of issues that if you address them in this priority order, this is the cyberposture improvement potential. If you address them in this particular priority order, the cyberposture score would increase by that amount. And we unpack these list of prioritized issues and pass them on to the GCP Cloud Security Command Center as findings. So let's take a look in Cloud SCC Command Center in terms of what those findings actually look like. So to do that, let me go back into Security Command Center, pick my organization, and in this Command Center landing page, you will see a list of assets. These are all the assets that GCP itself or Command Center itself has discovered in your GCP account across the different projects. And the Cavirin findings are actually part of this Cavirin Cloud SCC companion app. So drill into that. And what you'll see here is that a number of findings by finding type and source type, you can actually drill in there. If there are other products that you've licensed from other vendors, you'll see those listed in the source type tab, and then you can drill into any one of these sources and you can actually take a look at these findings. An example of a finding would be, let's say, Cavern is telling Command Center that port 22 is actually open on one of your machines. That's what this is. The details of that machine are in here. The resource name is what would let you find this particular asset within Command Center itself. And then the project is actually marked in the URL for the resource name. So what this means is that this particular resource exists within Cloud Security Command Center demo project, and the improvement potential associated with respect to this particular finding is 0.002, which means that if you closed port 22 on this particular asset, the cyber posture score for the asset group will increase by this amount. One interesting thing that you want to look at is you have a lot of drill down facets, search facets that are available to you. So for example, if you want to find resources that belong to a certain project, you can actually type in the project name. So for example, if you want to filter out resources by cloud SCC demo project, you can enter it in here, and you can see it's filtered just to these 3 findings. Similarly, there are also Cavern facets that are available. So one of the Cavern facets is the asset group filter that's available for you. Similarly, another facet that's available from Cavern is the service/OS filter. Now here, these are the different types of, Cavern actually discovers 9 types of services from GCP, and those include things like compute, storage, Cloud SQL, and so on. So for example, if I'm only interested in findings for the compute resources, I could enter it in here, and then you find this particular finding that's on a compute resource, and like before, you get a lot of details in terms of improvement potential, what are the remediation instructions for this particular finding, so that you can go off and remediate them through the GCP Cloud Console itself. So that's it. So next steps. So we suggest that you try this out, and to do that, find us here at cavirin.com and set up a tech review project for yourself. Thank you.